And now let us go back to the topic of not only love and passing on the good, but also to peace. People say, in every country where Braco has been gazing already, some people say they feel not only this unconditional love, but also this feeling of peace and oneness. And like we had Deborah Mulder yesterday in our Skype interview in the last session, we now have a very special lady here today as well. She's from Australia, and her bio reads as impressive as Deborah's did yesterday. And I'd like to introduce her to you before we go into the interview. So she's the chairperson for the Ministry of Peace in Australia. She's the former vice president of the United Nations Association in Australia for the NSW division. She was a founding member of the Global Alliance for Ministries and Departments of Peace, which comprised of 14 nations today. She was a past NSW president of the Australian Democrats. She organized peace festivals and concerts, also at the Parliament House, and she was the first one ever who created the Youth Peace Parliament in the world. She will talk about this later, what all this means. Actually, she has been a successful businesswoman also since her early 20s. But, and this is important and very impressive too, she managed to meld her spiritual beliefs with this business acumen to develop projects that create lasting change. And her spiritual bio is as impressive as her business one. So she has been trained by Hawaiian kahunas, by Aboriginal elders, and also by American Indians. And her heart and soul, her whole heart and soul, to be honest, is in creating peace and human transformation. And she believes that there is only one race, and this is the human one. She believes in goodwill and right relationships, in people to people and nation to nation. And that's why she's here to us today with us, why she's with Braco. And here she is. Welcome, Miss Biannca Pace. We are happy to have you here. And it's midnight with you in Sydney, Australia, where you are coming from to us, right?
Absolutely, yes. It's actually 8 minutes past midnight, but we don't mind. We're pretending it's 10 o'clock in the morning, right?
Absolutely. And you look as fresh as that, my dear. So all is well. Thank you for taking the time and being with us, because you in your work for peace, it's an important day because it's the United Nations International Day of Peace, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So please tell us all about your story and then how this belongs and fits together with what Braco is doing in Braco's mission.
Well, where do I start, Claudia? Where would you like? Ask me a question.
Ask you a question. What would you like to add to the introduction we gave about you?
Sure. Well, I think what I would like to say is that people around the world are rather stressed, concerned, worried, and no matter what level of society you're talking to, this is happening, whether they're, very rich or it doesn't matter. There's this apprehension. And I think it's wise to let people understand why and what is happening, because we're in a time of transition where there's upheaval of the old and we're only getting glimpses of what is new. But these times are very significant because there's a huge shift between those lost to materialism and those seeking the light of brotherhood and understanding. So the battle is going on in all of us, between these two polarities. We're fortunate in having our United Nations, but the use made of its impartiality is dependent upon the quality and the nature of the recipient nation. Now, today, nations are the expressions of the massed self-centeredness of a people and of their instinct to self-preservation. So goodwill, right relationship, flies out the window. But that's But in spite of this, if you think about it, the UN continue to hold before our eyes the theory of unity. May it slowly be turned into practice, and the word united come to have a true significance and meaning. One world, one race, the human race. Instead of the old tools used, to force peace, we at Ministry for Peace Australia, apart from lobbying our government to install a Minister for Peace and a Department of Peace, and by the way, in America there's the Department of Peace, started by Kucinich, Dennis Kucinich, and we actually met up with him in Canada, and he was an advocate of the Department of Peace for America. In Australia, in fact, through the International League for Peace, the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, in 1937, the women, God bless them, went out and said to the government, we need a Department of Peace, a Minister for Peace. And our government said, get lost, because we have a Department of Defence. And they said, well, we prefer to see no fences. We prefer to see... Anyway, of course, as we all know, then we went into a war and so forth. Now, as I was saying, instead of the old tools to force peace, we support a range of new tools that create rather than destroy. And with this, we've done peace forums. We always use Parliament House because we have the backing of certain politicians who would like to see a Ministry for Peace in Australia. And hence we've had the Youth Peace Parliament, which is a joy because the children just love. You should see them. They walk into Parliament House, they take their seats and they take to power like ducks take to water. We had a 13-year-old that was amazing. He was, anyway, and we teach them. We say, look, you have to learn how our system works. We have a great system. It's the Westminster system. It comes from England. And, in 1749, the greatest minds on earth thought up this wisdom, and there's nothing wrong with the system, and there's nothing wrong with the horse and cart. But today, we're driving cars. Consequently, if you learn how our system works when you're older, you'll be able to change it for the better. And they get right into it. So that is my joy, the youth. And even today, we have Ministry for Peace, Youth, Peace Ambassadors, etc. But we went right out and took it to, corporate. We had corporate responsibility forums at Parliament House, you name it. We covered all the academics, the business people, the politicians, the children, everybody. But as I say, we support a range of new tools that can create rather than destroy. And Braco is such a tool because in silence there is truth, and in truth there is silence. And that's what he gives you. This is what he enables you to have, to see the truth of yourself. Who am I? Why am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? And if people are open to this, it really is life-changing. Since we've met on the 21st of May, and the people I introduced you to here in Australia, they've all come back and said, gosh, Biannca, we stayed up to 6 o'clock in the morning and our lives have changed. Now, these are, you met some of them. They're very wealthy people or very within their own sphere, very influential. So I think I'm very happy, actually, and so is our board, because I ran this by them, that we're, in a way, linking with Braco, linking with you people over there, because in the future, what we want is a world group that stands for peace, irrespective of how they demonstrate it. I mean, not everybody is Braco, but each person has something that they can give to that beautiful tapestry to create a world that works for everyone. So that's basically our work, and what I was saying about, we need to look at a culture of peace. Culture, the word culture means a cult of light. Isn't that beautiful? So we need a cult of light for peace and nonviolence. And it starts in the home because, you know, we see violence, we see women, I mean, terrible things happening. We need gender equality. If we don't have gender equality, that's a cornerstone, you know, of a culture of peace. It's about education, first in the home, then at school, then in society. And this is what we're about. Now, it's impossible to do this all on our own, and that's why we love the idea of Braco. You know, we've sent out the invitation to Nigeria, to Rwanda, to just about everywhere. You know, Japan, I can't even remember, all of the different associations. They don't all call themselves Ministry for Peace, but they're all for peace. And so we're hoping that he will affect the peace group so that we can also rise to a higher level of involvement, perhaps. I'm not sure. I'm open to
what you are saying, because you're touching very many different aspects, but in fact, in the end, they all come together to the same point, and which is betterment, actually, and peace and oneness, unity. And, you know, I would like to go back to what you were sharing about the first time when you heard about Braco. And then you immediately, I was impressed, honestly. You immediately took it up. You said, I have to meet you. I'm on my way to Europe, but I have to see you at the airport before I leave for Europe. You were getting up super early in order to meet us there, right? And just to connect and to bring in your people. You were sending out invitations so that people could come to the event and see and feel Braco. Actually, it was instantaneous, so this was impressive to me. What did you feel? Why did it come to you like this, that you say that people have to see Braco?
Well, I like to check people out. I don't just, you know, believe everything I hear. And that's because, you know, I had the Crystal Gallery for 20 years, the first crystal shop in Australia, right? And a lot of people would come in and say, well, you know, I've got this cassette tape or whatever it was in those days, you know, and it was two forks banging together. And I'd say, look, I can't sell that. Oh, you're not a spiritual person, you know. So I had a lot of instances where I had to learn to check people out. And it's a habit of mine because in business you need to do it. And, you know, a culture of peace is business in a way. We're in a business world. Everything is business. You know, parliament's a bit, everything. Anyway, I thought, well, and Deborah, you know, our friend, our mutual friend, Deborah Moldau, who came to Australia and hugged koala bears, and they didn't pee on her, so I was really happy about that. No, she really did. She loves koala bears. And, of course, she recommended that, you know, you and Braco. And, of course, she is one of my dearest and most trusted friends. And for her, I would do anything. So I thought, okay, it's Deborah, so I will do my best. And as you know, I was leaving at 2:30 that afternoon for Europe, and you were arriving at 6 o'clock that morning. So, but it was interesting. And we had a nice time, a nice breakfast. And you know what? The guy that served us, the waiter, did I tell you he phoned me about 2 weeks ago to tell me how wonderful he had gazed, you know, because I was chatting and telling him, and he had gazed and he called me, I didn't even remember him, to tell me that his life had changed. So you know, but when I met Braco and I met you, and I think Leah was there also, I could tell. I don't know. I can tell. And I think it's just intuition and maybe lots of years of experience. And I thought, no, these people are for real, so I need to help them. That was it. And when I help and when I think help, I mean help, you know, however it is needed and wherever it's needed. And it was a pleasure. And that's why it was wonderful to come to Croatia and to watch, to actually see it in, you know, in real time. So, and it was nice. It was Croatia, everybody, is a lovely place. You should all go and visit Split. Wow, that's a great place, wasn't it? I'd never been there. Yeah.
You were talking about some of your friends who also met Braco at that time in May for the first time, and you said that they were so enthusiastic about it. that they started live streaming really from the first
Yes.
to the last session, even if it's not super good times for you in Australia, is it?
No, midnight to 6 a.m. is not super good times, darling. No, but they watched, and one particular couple came. Went to wherever he was. Where was it again? The race course. That's right. And then they watched every single gazing thing from midnight, to 6, and their whole relationship changed. And now I know these people intimately, and I'm seeing, this amazing transformation. I love it, and I'm all for transformation. We really need, we live in a very dense planet. We really need to transform our energy to a higher level, and this is what Braco gives. That's a beautiful gift. If you think about it, I just love that it's wordless. It's just energetic, no words. And it's a beaming of love, and bypasses the concrete mind and goes directly to the heart, which is wonderful, if we allow it, of course, because ultimately it's up to the free choice of each and every one of us. But if you allow it, it goes straight to the heart. It knocks on the heart gently and says, hello, open up. Open up your heart to love. And I think that's what it did to my friends. When I experienced a sense of timelessness, just total timelessness and peacefulness. It was beautiful. So I think each person experiences whatever it is that they need at that particular time to, continue on their evolutionary path. So, yeah, fantastic. What time will he come on tonight?
He will come right after we are finished, and we have only a couple of minutes, and I would like to ask you one thing still. Of course.
I'm talking too much as usual, am I?
Don't worry. The first time you heard about Braco, you were spreading out to your friends and to your contacts, actually. Now this time, also as a kind of invitation to your interview here with us, you said you wanted to reach out to the other ministries of peace. And you did.
Yes.
You did. You invited them. So this is a message that you are creating. So what is it that you think why Braco's mission and this World Peace Movement fit together? What is this for you?
Well, think about it. If you want peace, you have to have peace in your heart first. Peace in your home, peace in your community, and then peace in your nation, and then nation to nation. So if peace, and we're told that peace and understanding is actually part, or the most important part, of the heart of God. So if peace and understanding, if that's what it is, then we better open up our hearts to unconditional love. And that would bring that peace and understanding that would hopefully then bring about a peaceful world, because we can't continue to live in this awful, dark, scary sort of things that are going on. We have to jump to the new. And although the new, we get glimpses of it, but we're creating that new. We create that reality on this planet. We create it, no one else. And what are we creating? So please, let's open our hearts and let's create beauty, truth, goodness, gentle, loving kindness, and brotherhood and unity. And that's my prayer for the United Nations International Day of Peace, which is today. Actually, it's finished here, but it's started everywhere else in the world.
Good. And for you, this gift of Braco, is this what can bring in these qualities into our lives individually, but also on a larger scale into our communities?
Well, yes. Imagine if each of the peace organizations had all of their members gazing. And, maybe this year, no, because we didn't have a lot of time. But we can build this up. And I've been having conversations with Dr. Peter Airy and with the United Nations Association of Australia. And our next step is going to be to organise the peace, all the different various peace groups that are in Australia, so that instead of 1,000 voices talking to our politicians, we're going to have 1 million voices. And then if we can continue this world, around the world, nation to nation, and get all the groups together and have one massed group. Imagine, it's time that the voice of the people, that people come together, because when they do, their voice for peace and happiness and right human relations and social justice will be a roar, and that roar will not be able to be stopped by any politician. They will have to listen. And that's what people are talking about right now, about politics from the bottom up and not from the top down. So let's keep our fingers crossed and let's work hard to make this happen.
Thank you so much, Biannca. I'm checking the time and we are on the end and at the end of our interview. It was a pleasure having you here, and I know we will hear from you in the future, and also what happens now to your groups, to these groups, the departments of peace everywhere that you invited to this special day and special gaze with Braco. And we stay in touch and keep you posted, and I wish you a very, very good experience with gazing now too.
Thank you
dear.
very much.
All the best to you in Australia. Thank you, Biannca. Thank you.